Okay, hi, welcome to this IMD. I'm Liam Oliffe from Democratic Services, making this Lizzie Ferris, Executive Member for Planning and the Local Plan, and the officer presenting is James McCabe, Principal Planning Policy Officer. James, would you like to present the report?
Sure, yeah. So you've seen the report. Effectively, Basingstoke and Deane Council are currently consulting on their draft plan, which runs until later today. So this is the first full draft plan that they've consulted on, which sort of sets out the long-term vision up to 2040, as well as including a series of development management policies. So broadly speaking, the recommendation in the report is to acknowledge that the plan would have limited cross-boundary implications for Wokingham Borough, but to cover off briefly some of that detail. So the spatial strategy concentrates the majority of the growth kind of in and around Basingstoke town, within the sort of centre of the borough, with a new garden village also proposed in the southwest of the borough, so on the very southern boundary. So largely proposed allocations are not close to Wokingham Borough boundary. In terms of the overall housing needs, the plan would meet and exceed its needs as calculated through the standard method, which is the government mandated method for calculating local housing need. So as regards unmet need, there are no cross-boundary implications arising there. As part of meeting that need, it's also worth noting that a significant number of the dwellings, so there's about 6,500 dwellings, are to be delivered post 2040 through the proposed allocation, so kind of into the next plan period. So despite there not being any allocations particularly close to Wokingham Borough, the main sort of impacts for us would be traffic impacts along the sort of A33 corridor, which extends up into Wokingham and onto Reading. So Highways colleagues have reviewed the proposals and the supporting evidence. And broadly speaking, we don't expect the flows on that route to exceed pre-COVID levels. The plan also does include proposals to safeguard land for a new train station at Chinham, so that they'll need to be ongoing engagement as regards to that. But the idea is that will alleviate traffic impacts on and around that the A33 corridor. Moving on, in terms of the Gypsy Traveller and Travelling Show People provision, the evidence is current. Basingstoke and Deane are currently updating their needs evidence as regard to Gypsy Traveller and show person need. The plan does, however, present a sort of range of reasonable and proportionate measures to meet that proposed need. Is that WBC supports, but because we haven't got that need study isn't yet fully available. We don't know if there will be any unmet need. So the recommendation is that we maintain that ongoing dialogue through the duty to cooperate, as that study does emerge. The plan seeks to meet those needs in full. So there's a significant industrial and logistics floor space need, which is proposed to be met through an allocation through allocations at Oakdown Farm and Southern Manydown. And then in terms of the office floor space, this is proposed to be met through improving and regenerating the existing office use. So again, it's not expected to be any unmet need arising from employment. And then also finally to just touch upon one of the other interesting policy areas within the plan. So it's not necessarily a cross-boundary issue, but it's quite important to highlight that the plan also seeks very ambitious kind of net zero dwellings, net zero building policy, which is kind of reflective of best practice that we've seen in recent plans, such as kind of Cornwall, Bath and North East Somerset, etc. So they're proposing to take that energy standards approach, which government has recently published guidance on, is trying to dissuade local authorities from pursuing, which kind of came out quite slightly too late for the Basingstoke and Deane to kind of reflect that in their plan, but they're seeking to continue and evidence that approach as being best practice, which is an approach that this council has kind of signed up to and supported as well. So in effect, it's a similar approach to where we're thinking of going with our next plan. So the recommendation is to support that ambition that they're showing as well. But that's broadly the report. So I guess any questions to you, Lindsay?
No, thank you, James. I think that was a very useful summary of the situation within Basingstoke and Deane. From my perspective, the main aspect is that the majority of the development is around the Basingstoke town and slightly to the south, which means that the majority of their developments are not on our boundary. And as you said, James, probably the main issue for us is what traffic and what transport issues would result from that, mainly through the A33 and any other roads that come up from there, which would have some impact, but it's not the same as if they were on the boundary. And to summarise it, we've got 7 recommendations within the paper. First one is that we would support the proposal to meeting the local housing need in full, which is the situation that Ben just described. Request further engagement on transport and highways infrastructure necessary to support proposed growth, which is the issue I mentioned about the A33 and the other roads. There's also mentioned request further engagement on the potential for a new train station at Chinham. It's on the Basingstoke to Reading line. So that is work that would need to take place with Great Western. 4 is supports in principle the proposal to meet the needs of the gypsy and traveller communities, noting the range of approaches and how this might be achieved, and requests further engagement on the needs of the gypsy and traveller community and actions meet the needs, which is because they're at very early stages in the discussions on the gypsy and traveller. And the last point is we support the proposal to meet the employment needs in full, and we also support the ambition and approach achieving net zero carbon development, which is incorporated within their plan. My last comment is that 3 of the development sites go beyond the 15-year period, as touched on by James, and I think that is what is happening now with more and more authorities, and I think it gives a clear indication as to what future development is likely to come, and it is, in my opinion, more honest to the residents. So I recommend this, and I'm happy to support the paper as produced to give our views to Basingstoke and Deane Council on their Reg 18 consultation.
Great. I'll hand down the decision sheet if you're happy to sign it. Thank you. Yeah. Great. So, subject to the 5-day calling period, this decision will be made official, and that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you.